Welcome back to the Gilbertson Aero Factory. Today is Saturday, the 9th of November, 2024. It's probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I have recently discovered that I have a lot more work cut out for me today than I originally thought that I had. If you recall, at the end of the last video, I discovered that I'd failed to rivet the top skin to the aft spar before putting on the Aileron gap fairing. Obviously, I have failed to rivet the top skin to the aft spar above or in the area of the flat brace, but I didn't think that was a big deal at first, and I thought about it a little bit more, and I remembered that there are a few rivets right in here that can only be bucked. They cannot be squeezed because this reinforcement bar has some rivet heads that crowd them, which means that I have to also remove the flat brace that I just put on. So I have 69 rivets that I have to drill out today so that I can go back and do what I should have done in the first place. Why didn't I do it in the first place? If you followed this channel, you know that I've had long stretches of time where I would work all day, every day on the airplane, and then there are huge gaps. And this is a result of some of the gaps. I had done on the left wing, I had gotten that all of this business taken care of and put into the cradle and started getting started on that work with this wing. And then that's when I started going back to work again, and I was going back and forth between Fort Worth, Nashville, Los Angeles, with some breaks in between. And so apparently what I did was I started, there were only like 4 or 5 rivets on the far end, and I had to leave. When I came back, I decided that, oh goodness. I decided that I was going to go ahead and attach the aileron brackets and test fit or fit the aileron gap fairings and the aileron gap fairing and the flat brace so that those were ready to go. Doing that meant that I flipped the wing over, and when the wing was flipped over, I didn't, coming back weeks, months, 6 months later, I didn't even notice these clecos here. So I happily got back to work where I thought that I left off, and I attached those 2 big pieces with big rivets and flipped the wing over and realized that this has not been done yet. So I have to undo all of that work that I did a couple days ago. So today I will be much less an airplane builder and more of a airplane maintainer, those guys who have to do big work and repairs. That's what we're doing today. Construction by way of deconstruction. So let's build an airplane.
Okay, you may have noticed that the edits are getting a little bit simpler, less multicam, less graphics, less all that stuff. I just don't have, in my mind, enough time to do that stuff, which I actually really enjoy. But in addition to the airplane, just other projects that I have to get accomplished. And the fact that I've been gone from home for really nearly 6 months, my home has been unattended to, so it looks like it has been abandoned by squatters. So I have to work on that as well. So, okay. It wasn't 69 rivets I removed. It ended up being closer to 85 or 90. But I have to say that the rivet removal portion of this was about an hour and 15 or hour and 20, much shorter than I anticipated it being. It turns out that, like anything else, you do enough rivet removal and that becomes somewhat routine, just like putting the rivets in. So for the most part, removing what you're seeing right here is the aileron gap fairing, went pretty smoothly. You saw at the beginning that I had done a handful of that back row the aftmost row of rivets to the skin, so I had to get rid of those first, and then this here. And when I'm done with it, yeah, I'll get that out of the way and move on to the flap brace. When I move on to the flap brace here very shortly, I'll start at the very far end, which is the inboard portion of the wing, because there is a big fat squeezed rivet that I know is going to be a bear to get out. And so that took a significant amount of time. And at this point, that hole has just been abused. So I put a tag on it, and I'll save that for later. I'll put it in an order with spruce and get some Cherry Max rivets, and I'll go up a size on that one. Yeah, and have to get creative with the nut you see sitting on the floor behind me. I've got the 90-degree drill, which I used because that rivet, the shop head is on the forward side, or rather the factory head is on the forward side of that spar, and it's really tight up against the web of that rib. So anyways, that was a bear. I got it out. It's not the first time that one's been drilled out, hence the need to just go up a size. And yep, that's how that went. The rest of these weren't that bad to get out. However, you'll see me later once I get this flap brace off. Man, here's the deal. In April, I did all the business to the left wing and got it set up and got started on this one at some point like late April, mid-April. And then I left for a couple of weeks for work. And this was all just sort of during prep for Lioness. So a lot of hustling around and moving a lot of stuff. And you saw a lot of that stuff roll through my garage. Then I came back and got started on this. And I don't know really what I was thinking, but it just completely escaped me that I needed to do that, rivet the skin to that aft spar before I did anything. Because you can see in the middle here, now that I've got the flap brace off, you can see that aileron bracket is there. That needs to come off too. And that was a bitch, because those are some of the longest rivets in the entire project, like AN 474-12, really long rivets that were very difficult to set and even harder to remove, because there is one rivet skin, the skin to the aft spar at the very top of that aileron bracket that can only be set before the aileron brackets. So I had come back from that 2-week gap and somehow just decided I wanted to get after it. And it was probably because I had the wing flipped over and that row of Clecos was hidden from me, or at least not obvious to me. It didn't make me go, huh, yeah, man, what a mess. Anyways, I learned a lot about taking an airplane apart today, and that didn't take that. This took a significant amount of time, and then to make it even more complicated, using that long 12-inch drill bit, because you can't get close to those monster rivets. This was just a bear. I might actually end up remaking that aileron bracket. I'm going to look at it some more. But same thing, I might have to go up a size, and it's not a big deal if I upsize these holes for larger rivets. It doesn't create any sort of edge distance issues. They have a healthy distance between them already. However, the what could be a challenge is shooting a -5 rivet. I don't know if that's so anyways, I'm going to call Vans Builder Support and see if I do go up a size, if Cherry Max would be appropriate for that. I think that they will be. I mean, they're structural, and that might be my best bet. So anyways, what I'm doing here is, now that I've gotten that out of the way, I'll go ahead and do what I should have done back on May the 4th before I started fitting up the flat brace and the gap fairing. All of these little bitty AN 426 3-3.5 mostly. I don't know if you noticed it, but you might have seen me out there with a Sharpie. Basically, all of the handful of places that use a different size rivet, I just wrote it out on the skin so that I wouldn't mess it up. So happily, I didn't mess that up today. You see the far end there, there's still a bunch of clecos there, and you can see on the aft side of that aft spar, those reinforcement bars, and that's where it gets complicated. There's almost no room to get a bucking bar. And this is something that was discussed like 2 or 3 videos ago on the other wings. So I had the same thing today. There were a couple of them that I had to drill out and do a second time. You can see I'm kind of losing the light here, but that's basically how the day finished up. I got the entirety of the skin attached to the aft spar. I have served my time. I've paid for my sins. I've suffered the punishment of having to remove all of that. So in total, today's work session was 4 hours and 15 minutes. And despite not wanting to take that all apart, I am happy to have a good long day of building under my belt after such a long break. So that's going to do it for this one. And the next time you see me, I'll be doing the work that I did last Thursday, but on a different day. See ya.